around that, and it was distracting, and it was taking away from the rest of what James had to say. Now, I didn't get to ask this guy this question, but for me, when I read that verse, a very helpful memory of a certain Old Testament passage comes to mind and immediately makes verse 6 quite credible. Let me read verse 6 again. You have condemned and murdered innocent men. Talking to rich people, you have condemned and murdered innocent men who were not opposing you. Now, I know this, and that is James' audience, if you remember, is an audience, this is an early letter, of converted Jews. Okay? They're converted to Christ. They know their Bibles very well. In that day and age, Jews knew their Bible very well. Some of them still know their Bible very well. And so what would come to their mind is the same passage I'm thinking about. And we have some people who know their Bibles very well here this morning. And I won't put you on the spot, but are you thinking, and I'm thinking about Susan and Lisa and Keith and some others, who, Tanya, I call these folks, I haven't used that name in a long time. I call them the Sanhedrin. Because they know their Bibles so well, I'm always afraid they're going to be judging me. Oh, Joe, no, you got that all wrong. You got that passage wrong. And I love to debate that kind of thing with the Sanhedrin. But maybe there's a certain passage that comes to mind when you think about rich people who murdered an innocent man. One who was not opposing you. Okay. The passage I'm thinking, the innocent man's name is Naboth. The rich man's name is Ahab. And the rich man's wife's name is Jezebel. Oh, Jezebel. You mothers and fathers here this morning with daughters, in choosing a name for your daughter, did you ever consider the name Jezebel? I'm pretty sure you didn't. It kind of has a nice ring to it. But I know you didn't consider the name Jezebel. Well, we're going to see why that's the case. Would you turn to 1 Kings chapter 21. It's on page 257 in your Pew Bible. 257. And I'm going to read it out of the Pew Bible too. 257. Okay, we're going to read the first 20, I think it's the first 21 verses. 16 verses. Okay, before we read it, let me explain just a couple of things to you real brief here. The innocent man is Naboth, the condemning, murdering is the Ahab and Jezebel. And they are king and queen of the northern kingdom. Israel has split into two at this point, and many of the kings were quite evil, especially in the northern kingdom. Ahab was probably the worst. I think the Bible actually declares that he's the worst. And Jezebel was by far the worst. And so now let's read chapter 21, verses 1 through 16. Sometime later, there was an incident involving a vineyard belonging to Naboth the Jezreelite. The vineyard was in Jezreel, close to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. The northern kingdom is called Samaria because of its capital city. Ahab said to Naboth, "Let me have your vineyard to use for a vegetable garden, since it is close to my palace. In exchange, I will give you a better vineyard, or if you prefer, I will pay you whatever it is worth." But Naboth replied, "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers." So Ahab went home sullen and angry because Naboth the Jezreelite had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. He lay on his bed sulking and refused to eat. His wife Jezebel came in and asked him, why are you so sullen? Why won't you eat? He answered her, because I said to Naboth the Jezreelite, sell me your vineyard, or if you prefer, I will give you another vineyard in its place. But he said, I will not give you my vineyard. Jezebel, his wife, said, is this how you act as king over Israel? Get up and eat. Cheer up. I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, placed his seal on them, and sent them to the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city with him. In those letters she wrote, proclaim a day of fasting and seek